All right, so we're gonna start with the heart. When you're looking at the surface of the heart, you can tell that there are two regions. The narrowest region of the heart is called the apex, so that's this right here. And then the broadest part of the heart is here, this is the base, okay? When you are dissecting the heart, you have to find the auricles. And the auricles look like these kind of cauliflower textured darker pieces on the base. So these are this guys right here. Again, cauliflower texture, they can kind of lift off of the heart. And what you're gonna do is create an incision from the middle of one auricle to the middle of another auricle. And that will allow you to kind of open up the heart like a Pac-Man, right? Okay, so when you are trying to tell the difference between the right side and the left side, the way you tell the difference is looking at the thickness of the myocardium, looking at the thickness of the muscle of the heart. So when you are trying to tell the difference, make sure not to confuse the interventricular septum with the wall of the heart. Okay, so this right here is the left side, this is the right side, and I know that because this is thicker and this is thinner, so this is the left side. So because I know this is the left side, the top chamber right here is going to be the left atrium, and in the left atrium I can see kind of this puckered tissue, and this puckered tissue is called pectinate. So it's the atrium covered in pectinate, the left atrium. And then down here is the left ventricle. And the left ventricle is going to have those chordae tendineae, which we also call the heartstrings. Those are these guys right here. So this is the left ventricle, the left atrium. And kind of breaking up the left atrium and ventricle is the left atrioventricular valve, also called the mitral valve or the bicuspid. Okay, so that's the left side of the heart. Left side of the heart. On the right side of the heart, we have that thinner myocardium, and we've got the same kind of layout, right? The bottom chamber is the ventricle, so that's our right ventricle. Top chamber is the atrium, and again, we can see kind of that puckered tissue. And then in the middle, we have a valve, this nice thin valve, the right AV valve, also called the tricuspid. And we've got those chordae tendineae right there. And this is our interventricular septum. Okay, so now that we've gotten the left and the right, let's take a look at some of these big structures up top. So when we close the heart, we can see a lot of different sticky outy things, and the only really way to tell what they are is to go through our different chambers. So let's say we're looking for the superior vena cava. We know the superior vena cava is going to feed into the right atrium. So we find the right atrium, we're going to stick our finger through and find the superior vena cava. So where my finger is coming out, this is the superior vena cava because it takes blood from the upper body and puts it into the right atrium. Let's say we're looking for the aorta. We know that blood from the left ventricle is going to go through to the aorta. So we find the left ventricle, and again, the thicker side of the heart is the left side. So we're going to go ahead and follow that up through the center, and we find our aorta right here, this big guy. So that's our aorta. Brah. Aorta is generally going to be the biggest and thickest structure up on top, but again, you always have to prove it. You always have to figure out what structure it is connecting to. We know that there is a semilunar valve between the left ventricle and the aorta, and that valve is called the aortic semilunar valve. And it's called the semilunar valve because it makes a half moon. So this little half moon over my finger is the semilunar valve leading to the aorta. So maybe you can see it a little bit better right here if I use this little probe. So this structure kind of over the probe right now is our aortic semilunar valve. So it's going to lead from the left ventricle over to the aorta. Okay, and all of our valves are nice and thin. They're really thin, but they're very strong as well. All right, the last structure we're going to find is going to be the pulmonary trunk. So we know that the right ventricle is going to lead blood into the pulmonary trunk. So I'm going to go ahead and find the right ventricle. So again, the thinner side, this is the left, this is the right. I'm going to try and find my pulmonary trunk by sticking my finger right in here. And this is my pulmonary trunk because that's where my finger is going. So this guy right here is the pulmonary trunk. Let's see if we can see it a little bit easier with a probe or not. Nope. We need a really long finger to really get in there. But this guy right here is the pulmonary trunk. Okay? And then if you were curious about the pulmonary veins, those are going to feed in through the left atrium. Pulmonary veins. Let's see if we can find them here. Come on. Aha! Okay, pulmonary veins are going to create this little bubble over here. So there's a bubble and we feed in through the pulmonary veins. So I think that's everything. You got it. Good job.